Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating philosophical text by an author named Xu Feng, titled Check If You Are Following the Road of Devils. We're going to impartially examine this source material, which presents a radically different and honestly pretty mind-bending perspective on the everyday human pursuits that most of us consider completely normal or even noble. Whether you're a seasoned philosophy buff or just someone curious about different worldviews, this text offers a completely unique lens on human behavior, cosmic balance, and the very nature of suffering. So, let's unpack this theory.
So, let me ask you, have you ever just felt completely frustrated with life? I mean, who hasn't, right? Have you ever experienced intense anxiety, sadness, or fear? Or maybe felt cheated, oppressed, or deeply disappointed by how things turned out? It's a universal human experience. But instead of blaming bad luck or psychology, Xu Feng introduces a highly unique cosmic explanation for why all this suffering happens. According to the text, these negative experiences are actually the direct result of a devil's program at work, and they happen simply because so many people are currently walking on the road of devils without even realizing it.
Okay, let's get into this, because this is where the text really challenges conventional thinking. According to this philosophy, the devil's program doesn't just tempt people with obvious, cartoonish evils. Instead, it uses everyday pursuits to trap us. The text argues that striving for your marriage and family, fighting for national pride, dedicating yourself to political parties or religions, or even just racking your brain to amass wealth, yes, literally your 9-to-5 job, are all part of this program. The author posits that these institutions and desires are specifically designed to keep you rushing about, causing you to take huge risks, and ultimately leading you to harm others and nature in the pursuit of these worldly goals.
Which brings us to the law of cosmic balance. You might be wondering, why doesn't the greatest creator just stop this? Right, if these everyday pursuits are a devil's program, causing so much suffering, why wouldn't a supreme creator simply step in and shut it down? Well, the text answers that by pointing to a fundamental law of the universe, the unity of opposites. It argues that the universe relies entirely on contrast. You absolutely cannot have superior without inferior, up without down, or bright without dark. The author even uses a biological metaphor here, stating that just as eating and drinking have to be complemented by their physical opposites to keep a body functioning, the grand drama of the universe simply couldn't be staged without opposing forces. If everything were totally perfect, life itself would stagnate and go pale.
Just think about the sheer cosmic balance required here. Much like human society demands leaders and the masses to follow them, the universe demands a broader equilibrium. In this grand cosmic ecosystem, for higher forms of life to exist and go to heaven, there literally must be a counterbalance of lower forms of life going to hell. The text states that lower life forms must serve the higher ones, kind of like herbivores sustaining carnivores. So in this view, the devil's program is not some cosmic mistake. It's an absolute structural necessity to maintain this exact balance.
So it all boils down to zero. That's right, the universe's strict zero-sum energy rule. According to Xu Feng, the sum of positive and negative energy in the entire universe must always, perfectly, equal zero. This means everything must be completely symmetrical. The forces of yin and yang, loss and gain, heaven and hell, and the powers of angels and devils have to hold each other in absolute check. Without the devil's program pulling people downward, the universe would completely lose its balance and vitality.
Next up is the paradox of Satan, the hard-working deity.
This brings us to a twist that completely reframes the traditional narrative of good versus evil. Rather than viewing Satan as a figure of pure, chaotic malice who is rebelling against order, the author argues that Satan is actually a very hard-working deity. In this framework, Satan is an archangel burdened with a terrible reputation who is simply doing the dirty work necessary to serve the universe. Because the universe demands that zero-sum balance, Satan is the one tasked with the exhausting job of delivering life forms to lower spaces and guiding them to hell, just to keep the cosmic scales even.
Now here's the kicker. If you actually fall for earthly temptations like money or fame, the devil isn't going to throw you a welcome party. Instead, the text claims he views those who walk his path with total disdain. Because you willingly fell for the illusions designed to maintain the balance, the devil essentially looks at you and says, "What an ignorant fool you are." You're basically just a necessary weight on the negative side of the cosmic scale to him.
All right, let's look at the 18 signs of the devil's road and ask the big question, are you on it?
The author doesn't just leave us hanging with cosmic theory. The text provides a highly specific 18-point checklist to help you figure out if you're currently walking this devil's road. If you check even one of these boxes, the text warns, you are heading downward.
First, it groups everyday societal attachments right into the danger zone. Rushing about solely for your marriage and family, or struggling intensely for your nation, religion, or political party are listed as major signs. It also includes concentrating all your energy on making money or racking your brain for fame and a high position. In this philosophy, tying your identity and energy to these worldly, tribal, or material goals means you are firmly caught in the devil's balancing program.
Next, the checklist moves into what we'd consider more traditional moral failings. This includes obvious harms like stealing, robbing, or killing, as well as corruption like cheating or accepting bribes. But it also includes things you might see every day, like doing things in secret just because you're afraid of being discovered, bullying, exploiting others, or even constantly breaking your promises just to find an excuse for your own faults. All of these signify that you're contributing to the negative energy of the universe.
The text also deeply emphasizes emotional negativity. It is not just about what you do, it's about how you feel. If you find yourself jealous of another person's joy and freedom, or if you harbor hatred by constantly complaining and reprimanding others, you're on the list. Spreading gossip to ruin harmonious relationships? That's a major red flag here. Even the simple act of constantly comparing yourself to others, something modern society practically runs on, is identified by Zhuo Feng as walking the road of devils. Finally, the checklist covers themes of desecration, control, and pollution. This includes affronting the greatest creator, sages, or even your own parents. A particularly striking point here is restricting others' freedom in the name of love, basically using love as an excuse to control someone. It also condemns publicizing incorrect worldviews, inciting rebellion, and polluting not just the physical environment with chemicals, but polluting people's souls with negative, passive, and pessimistic moods.
So, turning back to heaven, let's rein in at the brink of the precipice.
What happens if you recognized yourself in any of those 18 signs? Well, the author passionately argues that you must urgently wake up. You have to realize your mistakes and actively step back from that metaphorical cliff edge before it is too late to repent. The solution provided by the text is pretty clear-cut. Abandon the worldly attachments and negative energies that feed the devil's balancing program, and instead, choose to walk the road to heaven by following the way of the greatest creator.
We're going to conclude this explainer with the text's ultimate, highly provocative question for you to ponder. Based on this very specific 18-point checklist and this totally unique zero-sum view of the universe, which road are you currently on? Will you continue pursuing the earthly attachments of wealth, status, and tribalism that the text claims are a trap? Or does this philosophy challenge you to fundamentally reevaluate your daily life and emotional habits? It is absolutely a profound perspective to think about. Thanks for joining me as we unpack this fascinating material.